Memories of Vince's Devils.
Vince's Devils. It was fun. I mean, me, Candace, myself, and Victoria, we all traveled together, so it was kind of natural that we all decided that we wanted to have this little, sanction. It was kind of funny because, Candace was so new.
Right.
Yet she was the bossy one of the group, so she'd be telling us what to do, and Lisa and I are like, oh, we're just easygoing. We'd be like, okay. She doesn't know what she's talking about, but okay.
Right.
But, it was fun while it lasted. We loved working together. I was really upset because, I think that was around the time that Candace did her Playboy shoot, and they turned on me.
Right.
And they wouldn't ride with me anymore in the car. And I'm like, are you serious? You guys are going to make me drive 300 miles every night by myself? Everyone knows it's a TV show.
Right, exactly. Did you get along with Candace outside the ring?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. We still talk.
Memories of Mickey James.
Mickey James, gosh, she's sweet. She's a really, really good wrestler. She's one of those girls that, I just feel like she's definitely paid her dues. She definitely deserves to be where she's at. And, she lives and breathes wrestling. And it, obviously it shows. She's very passionate about what she does. And I really do respect her in that aspect.
Easy to work with in the ring?
Yeah, I mean, I never had any problems working with her. I don't think I worked with her that much, really.
Right.
But she, I really respect the fact that, there were quite a few times where we'd have multiple girls in the ring and, like a battle royal or something, and we'd be trying to figure out who's going out first, second, third, whatever. And Mickey actually, it really shocked me. She was actually the one that would always, because I don't really speak up for myself, I just go with the flow, and she was always the one saying, wait a second, Torrie's been here longer than any of you put together, she's not going out first.
Right.
So, I mean, always thought that was really cool that she
definitely knows the business.
Yeah, and she respected me,
I guess one of my questions would be one of your favorite places that you like to travel with WWE? Where would that be?
Sydney, Australia. It's so beautiful, and I love to run, and they have these beautiful gardens that are just beautiful, and the water, it's close, kind of like the U.S. It's not too foreign.
Right. I was going to ask you, went to Iraq, right?
Uh-huh.
I believe. What was that like, that trip?
Iraq was awesome. I went there 3 times.
Wow.
And
how long was that plane ride?
Oh gosh, too long.
Yeah.
And then we always went to just stopped in Germany, and we ended up sitting there for 8 hours on a layover. It was the first year I went, I was really scared. I was scared every time I went. But of course, now I can see what soldiers would feel like going over there.
Right.
But it was just an honor, first of all, to be able to go there and meet all of the soldiers and everyone. Everyone was so appreciative of us coming over there and always thanked us, and we were like, no, thank you, seriously. But they definitely loved the girls a lot more. They cared a lot more about seeing me than John Cena for once.
Yeah, right. Talk about John. What was he like outside the ring?
Outside the ring, John is he's a great guy. Everyone knows he lives and breathes wrestling, and
right.
He deserves everything that he's achieved. People can say what they want about his wrestling abilities. I think he's such a great performer. I feel like he's the closest thing to The Rock that wrestling, has seen in a long time. I mean, he's just so entertaining. Obviously, the throngs of fans that adore him see that too. And he's just always been very genuine to me. When I was going through my divorce, he was very, interested in hearing what I had. It's not like I cried on his shoulder or anything like that, but he was very concerned, and I just really appreciate that now.
Did a lot of the boys take sides when that all happened with you?
No, I don't think so. I try to keep it quiet, and if anyone knew the story, they'd be on my side.
Right. So, Triple H, what's he like as a person?
I really don't know him very well as a person. He's, he really does his own thing, and he seems like a nice guy. He's nice enough. I don't really, haven't had too many deep conversations with him or anything.
A lot of people say he's very political. Would you agree or disagree?
I would only say from what I've heard, but I've never experienced any of that. But, I've heard probably the same things you have.
Right. What about Stephanie? What's she like as a person? Stephanie's
great. She's very personable. She's very easy to talk to. she's what I really loved about her is that she's definitely on the side of the girls.
Right.
And she was always, working to get the girls more airtime, longer matches, and all of that stuff. And I really appreciate that. It's nice to know that in a man's world there was a girl looking out for us and trying to get us more, storyline.
Does she understand the business, or does she understand the business aspect of the business?
Oh, I definitely believe she understands the business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Who are some of your favorite wrestlers to watch?
Oh gosh, Rey Mysterio, of course. He's just amazing.
Right.
Chavo, I love watching. A lot of people that I love watching, I think part of the reason I love watching him is because I love them as people. So I find what they do either more interesting or I find humor because I know their little quirks.
Right.
Carlito, I love watching. I'd have to say Rey Mysterio really is my favorite, but there's so many of Randy Orton. I just think is an amazing performer. I mean, everything about the way he moves, the way he takes bumps, the way he sells everything is just, it seems so natural. And really, to me, just watching him, I'm no expert, but he seems like the most natural of anyone.
By far. And you talked a little bit about Carlito. What are your memories of the angle you did with Carlito?
It was fun while it lasted. I really didn't like having to kiss him or be like anywhere like that with him just because he's my friend and
Right.
It just grosses me out. But, he was easy to work with. I could tell him, I had no problems about asking him if I could do something interesting and he'd be cool with it,
Right. I just got distracted. Sorry
I know,
about
me
that.
too. I'm like,
Can you lock that? There's a top lock, and just I think there's a guy out there telling people not to come in anymore. Thank you. Awesome. You talked a little bit about Paul Heyman. Well, did you get along with Paulie?
I got along with him, yeah.
Did you see a lot of his, I guess, he had a lot of good ideas. Did you see a lot of his backstage struggles with different writers and the politics that he went through?
From a distance, I know that there were storyline ideas that he had come to me with involving me that I thought were really cool that never went anywhere, sadly, because I don't know if it was because of whatever went on between him and the powers that
Right,
be.
exactly.
It's just, it's sad that just because an idea might have come from him, it didn't happen, but if it came from someone else, maybe it did.
Right.
I really think he did have a lot of really good ideas.
Who was your favorite booker or writer to work with in WWE?
Oh, brother.
Did you get along with all the guys who wrote pretty much? Or?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I don't know because, I could say, I can't even remember all their names. There were so many of them, but, it was interesting because a lot of them would come to me with these awesome ideas that were, planned out 10 months ahead of time, and I'm like, how it was like a real soap opera. It was so interesting.
Right.
And they wouldn't even use part of it. They'd be like, oh, well, we can't use it because at the very end there's something missing, or it's like it didn't really make sense to me. I was like, you could use some of these ideas, but depending on who they were, the ideas didn't always get used, unfortunately.
What about ECW? You worked in ECW for a little bit. Did you like working for that brand?
No.
Yeah. Did you think it was a step down?
Yeah, I did feel like it was a step down. It was, that it wasn't as big of a show.
Right.
It's cool, the hardcore fans and all that, but it wasn't, and it's not like it was the ECW from years ago, by any means.
Right.
It was like what their version of ECW was supposed to be.
My next question, I don't know how you're going to answer it, but did your success in the WWE and Billy's lack, sort of, some people say, thereof ever caused tension between you guys? Was there jealousy between you guys as a couple?
Gosh. I really hope not. I don't think that he was ever jealous of my success. I think that, it's probably hard on any man's ego
Right.
when a girl, might be, because I may have been more successful than him in some ways, and he, worked his whole life to be a professional wrestler. That's all he ever wanted. And, because of my looks and, other things, I went a little further than him. I think that probably was a little hard on his ego. I don't know how it couldn't be. You know,
Right.
he never said, he was always very confident and always said that wasn't a problem, but I personally can't see how that is possible.
Right. Was it hard to stay in shape on the road? And how did you train on the road and stuff?
It was, at times it was trying, but fitness is a huge passion of mine, and when I run, I get in really good shape fast. And, I just always try to make it a priority. A lot of people, all they do is party on the road, and of course you're going to get fat.
Right.
It's just going to happen. So you got to pick your days. Okay, Friday night we'll go out. We're not going out every night.
Huh. What do
Plus,
you
when you have dogs,
Exactly.
you can't leave them in the hotel room.
Exactly. What do you remember about the fight between Batista and Booker at the SummerSlam photo shoot?
I was so bummed because I had just left.
So you missed
I
it.
missed it.
Wow.
But I heard all the juicy details right after, and I guess it would have been a good one to see. But I think they got pulled apart, so it wasn't
Yeah,
really
it got
a
broken
fight.
up pretty quick. Chris Benoit. Did you know Chris pretty well?
Fairly well. I mean, I worked with him in WCW and for 8 years.
How shocked were you about the whole tragedy?
Oh gosh, it was ridiculous. I mean, anyone that even watched wrestling, I'm sure, felt it, but I must cry.
Right.
It was like, I think for anyone that was working there, it was like one of the worst times of my life. Just knowing someone that could do that, and actually his wife and kid had been at the show like a few weeks prior to that.
Right.
And I didn't get a chance to say hi to her, and it's just so sad. I mean, it wasn't him.
Right. I guess what death in wrestling has hit you the hardest?
Well, oh my gosh, there's so many. The Chris Benoit one was really harsh, I think, in part because of just everything that happened. The way it happened, and it was just, I think it was even made a bigger deal because we were all there at the same time. We were all at the show. We were all taken into, the arena. They sat us down, and then, I'm sitting next to Vicky Guerrero, and someone pulls her aside, and all of a sudden she's screaming, and she can't even walk, and it's just this huge scene, and it was just so traumatic, I think, for all of us.
Wow.
Eddie, I just felt, of all the wrestlers that have passed away, I was closest to Eddie. So, I mean, that one was really hard, and, I feel close to his family, and his kids. Oh my God, when we went to the funeral, his kids were like, Torrie, it was really hard.
Right. Why did you eventually leave WWE?
Really, being on the road for, almost 9 years straight.
Right.
I've missed a lot. I know it got to the point where, all my friends were going to barbecues on Sunday. I was spending 4th of July on the road again. My boyfriend was with WWE but got fired after we started dating. Not to say that's why, but I just, I didn't really, it's too hard to maintain a good relationship with anyone being on the road. I wouldn't be able to handle it. There's a lot of shady stuff that goes on the road. People party, and, I was tired of traveling all the time. I really wanted to settle down. I want to have kids. I want to get married. I want to have a good relationship.
Right.
And, my back, of course. There's no way that I would ever take a bump again.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about your injuries. How did that happen? And could you talk about it?
My back, for the last year that I was actually working, my back, it started aching here and there. I'd be home sometimes and I'd lay on the couch and I'd just turn a little bit and my back would lock up and I'd sit there crying for 30 minutes straight. I couldn't even move. And, I just kind of dealt with it. And then it got to the point where I'd be in the middle of a match and I'd be so afraid it would lock up and I wouldn't be able to move. And so then I started, here and there I started, taking Vicodin to go wrestle.
Right.
And that happened a few times. And then I was supposed to do a match, a dark match, I think, at TV, and I finally went to Johnny and I just said, look, I can't, my back hurts so bad, I need to go home and do therapy or something. And they sent me home, and the therapy just aggravated it more, and it ended up being something where no amount of therapy was going to help. I had a ruptured disc, and it was completely collapsed.
Wow.
And they had to go in and replace it with something else, and it was just from, I'm sure I had a bad back to begin with, but it was just from the trauma of years of wrestling and taking bumps, which is just crazy because I didn't even do anything really that crazy. But
so you can't even look back and say, all right, this is when it probably happened. It just was just from bumping
over time. And my doctor saw some of the things I did, and he saw that I used to give the face buster and just land on my back, on my butt, and that was like the easiest move ever. And he's like, oh my gosh, that, like, knowing the problem you have, that was the dumbest thing to do,
Right. No, there's nothing that they could do to correct your back. It's pretty much just.
Well, they went in and replaced the disc, and hopefully over time, it's only been 3 months. Hopefully over time it'll heal.
Right.
But we'll see.
What do you do now with your free time?
Oh gosh, I own a clothing store in Houston, and it's doing awesome. We've been open since November. It's done so awesome that the little mall that we're in has given us a new store that's like 3 times the size.
Cool.
We have our own clothing line out now.
Is this all you?
T-shirts.
Pretty much?
It's me and my boyfriend.
Right.
We have our own T-shirt line.
You have a website you want to plug?
Yeah, officiallyjaded.com.
Right.
We just partnered with a manufacturer that's doing all of our T-shirts now for us. Just business is so great, and we have plans to open up 2 more stores in the next 2 years.
Wow.
And I'm still working on projects for the entertainment industry. I've been going out to LA a lot and had a lot of meetings, and I got some things that are in the works that I'm just praying to God work out, and I'm really excited.
So I guess my next question, you're probably going to say no. Do you have any ever desires to return to the wrestling business?
Well, you know what? I do miss it. I miss a lot of things about being in the wrestling business. I miss the family. The biggest thing that I miss is walking out into an arena full of people and just feeling that energy. But part of the reason why I left is that I will never be able to give the fans what I want to give them. I don't want to be the girl that's hanging on, and I don't want to be the girl that walks out there every night and goes like this, because what's that doing for me? It's not doing anything for anybody. And I wanted to be the women's champion. And if I couldn't at least work to that goal, why was I there?
Right. What are your thoughts on TNA and the girls that work for that company? They call them the Knockouts.
Gosh. Amazing. I've watched, a few times in the last few months, and those girls,
they wrestle.
They wrestle.
Right.
I think the thing about TNA is that they actually give time to the girls. In WWE, the girls at the beginning of the day will have 10 minutes, and then right before they walk out of the curtain, it'll be 3 minutes.
Right.
Okay, so you're telling me that we can have a great kick-ass match in 3 minutes and show all the great things that we can do? No, it can't happen. And, it's great that TNA really does give the girls what they deserve.
Do you think that WWE went too far away from booking girls with wrestling backgrounds as opposed to the divas for a while?
I don't know. There's a fine line. It's because guys, people want to see the hot girl, but then after a while that gets too boring, and then they want to see the wrestlers.
Right.
So it's a fine line.
Catch.
It's like you got to go back and forth. I don't know.
Any good road stories from when you're on the road? Anything that stands out?
Oh gosh.
Any good ribs?
Oh, lots of ribs. Driving with Victoria and Candace, just those girls are crazy. Like they'd leave hot dogs in people's bags and let it, fester in there. They did it to me once. Any trucks or anything like that? No. I just really loved when we went overseas, because that was when everyone was together. That's when you really got to know everybody that you worked with. Traveling in the U.S., we all go our separate ways, and you hang out with who you want to hang out with. But going overseas, it's we all go out.
All right. Were you on the plane ride from hell?
With the Amy
Brock.
Weber one?
I'm not. It's one with Brock and Henning.
No, I missed that
Okay.
one. I miss all the good stuff.
How bad is sexual harassment in wrestling?
I don't really think it's, I mean, it's no more worse than anywhere else.
Gotcha. Can you talk about the challenge of being a female in the business?
I think the challenge is that it's, you know, the female, it's wrestling, whether you can argue or you can't argue, but wrestling is a man's business. It simply is a man's business. I mean, look at the amount of men on the roster, look at the amount of women on the roster. It's, you know, it's difficult. I think it's harder. I definitely think it's harder on the women being gone all the time. It's you know, a woman, a wife of a wrestler is probably going to be a little more understanding of the wrestler going and making a great living on the road. A man sitting at home while his wife is on the road with 50 wrestlers doesn't fare very well,
Right.
you know. And unfortunately, like, you know, just by me saying, you know, the girls' matches are always the ones to get cut, it's hard. You know, you really want to prove yourself. You want to show the fans that you can be just as entertaining as some of the guys that go out there, but a lot of times you don't get that opportunity.
Would you ever want to write a book?
You know, I've been asked that a lot of times. I probably could have a very interesting book, but my memory is so horrible that, you know, it's probably good for a lot of people. I just forgot some of the stuff they did.
Right. Any regrets looking back?
I really don't have any regrets at all.
If you were to make a videotape or DVD of maybe 3 of your matches for your grandkids, what would you put on that tape?
Well, I'd have to put something horrendous with Stacy, just in the beginning, so you could see how absolutely hideous it was.
Right.
And then I would definitely have, I think it was my last match with Victoria. I felt like it was one of my best matches ever. I just felt myself improving, and she's just amazing. And then for the third one, somewhere in the middle, no bikini matches, no pudding matches, none of that crap. So that leaves like two matches left, pretty
Right.
much, for my 8 years. I don't know what else I do. Something with Chloe.
Right. I guess when you left WWE, were they pretty understandable as far as your injuries, or did they try to say, well, why don't you come back and just do appearances for us and do ticket sales and all that stuff, or did they say, all right, we'll let you go, and, you know, maybe down the line?
You know, the funny thing is that was kind of the understanding for a very long time, that I was just going to do stuff like Ric Flair does,
Right.
promotional stuff. And, you know, when I called and told them, I just, you know, I really feel like they respected the fact that I just felt like I couldn't give them what they deserved as a performer. And the fact, you know, I think they understood that I don't want to be traveling all the time. They were great about that. And you know, to be honest with you, they did say, you know, if you want to come back, definitely call us. We'd love to have you do the promotional thing if you want to. But, you know, there's some certain things that, like, I'm really excited about doing that I wasn't able to do if I was still with WWE. So.
Right. Is there anything you want to say to your fans that you might not have ever had a chance to say to until this day?
Until this very day?
Exactly, until this moment right here.
Well, you know, I've said it, like, on my MySpace and stuff. The fans really are what have completely got me through, especially the last 2 years of my life. You know, I went through a horrible, horrible divorce. Thought my life was going to end, and wrestling and being in front of the fans is really what kept me going. Through my back injury, my fans have been so supportive, unbelievably supportive, and hearing the kind, sweet things that all of my fans have been saying to me and writing to me, and the letters I've been getting, just makes my heart melt, and it really makes me miss wrestling, period. And, you know, hopefully I will be back in front of you very soon.
Thanks for being here today. It was a great interview.
Thank you so much.